Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. So if you love sci-fi but just haven't had time to read it yet, well, stick with us. It's a wild ride, and we're going to break it all down for you.
Absolutely. It's one of those books that just grabs you from the start.
Yeah, so picture this, okay? Humanity is facing like a total extinction level event. But it's not aliens or a giant asteroid or anything like that. It's something way weirder. It's this like sun-eating organism.
Yeah, they call it astrophage.
Astrophage.
Right.
Like, who comes up with these names? But anyway, so this astrophage is like slowly but surely dimming our sun. And basically, if the sun goes out, we all go out.
Exactly. It's a pretty dire situation.
So our only hope,
Yeah.
a lone scientist, millions of miles away in a spaceship, with a mission to save not just Earth, but an alien planet too.
It sounds crazy, but trust me, it works.
Oh, it totally works. And one of the things that makes this book so gripping is the way it starts. The protagonist, who we don't even know the name of at this point, he wakes up on this spaceship, strapped to a bed, no memory, total amnesia.
Talk about a rude awakening, right?
Right. I mean, imagine waking up like that millions of miles from Earth with tubes sticking out of you and no clue who you are or how you got there.
It's like a nightmare scenario.
Yeah. And Weir uses that amnesia so effectively because you're literally figuring things out right alongside the protagonist.
Exactly. You're piecing together these clues about his mission, about the spaceship, about everything, really just like he is.
And it's not all doom and gloom either.
No.
Even though, the stakes are incredibly high,
Yeah.
Weir manages to weave in this like really sharp sense of humor throughout the book.
It's a great balance.
It is. Like, for instance, the guy names his mummified crewmates, right?
Yeah.
He gives them these ridiculous names like Miss Money and Emperor Comatose.
It's those little details that make the characters so relatable.
Right. Or how about when he tries to make a toga out of a bed sheet? I mean, the whole scene is just hilarious.
You can't help but laugh, even though you know he's in this incredibly dangerous situation.
Exactly. It's that contrast that makes it work. So we've got this amnesia, this impending doom, these little bits of humor. But then on top of all of that, the protagonist slowly starts uncovering this mystery of astrophage, this sun-eating thing.
Yeah, and the science behind it is really fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Weir does an amazing job of explaining these complex concepts in a way that's actually understandable.
He doesn't dumb it down, but he makes it accessible, even for readers who aren't like, rocket scientists.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And, as the protagonist learns more about astrophage and the mission he's on, it really makes you think about, like, the big picture, Like, how would we as humans respond to a global crisis like this?
It definitely raises some thought-provoking questions.
It does. Questions about, like, who gets to be saved, what sacrifices we're willing to make, that kind of thing.
Big ethical dilemmas, for sure.
Exactly. So just when you think you've got a handle on things, boom, the protagonist finally remembers who he is. And it's not who you'd expect at all.
Definitely a curveball.
He's not some seasoned astronaut or a brilliant physicist or anything like that. He's a junior high school science teacher.
Ryland Grace.
Ryland Grace. I mean, can you imagine? You're a science teacher and suddenly you're tasked with saving all of humanity.
It's like the ultimate science fair project gone wrong.
Right. But it's that twist that makes Project Hail Mary so unique. Because it's not just about the science or the space travel or any of that.
Yeah, it becomes about this ordinary guy thrust into extraordinary circumstances and how he rises to the challenge.
Exactly. It's about courage, it's about ingenuity, it's about the human spirit. And then just when you think it can't get any crazier, boom, aliens.
I knew they were coming, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi book, you got to have aliens.
It wouldn't be the same without them.
Right. So Grace discovers this alien spacecraft. And the way they communicate, it's just mind-blowing. Like, they don't speak the same language, obviously. So they have to figure out this whole other way to talk to each other, to share information.
It's a really clever exploration of communication and how we can connect, even when there are these huge barriers.
And the aliens themselves, the Iridians they're called, they're not your typical little green men. Like, Weir put a lot of thought into their biology, their culture, their whole civilization.
Yeah, they're believable, they're complex, they're fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. And the way Grace interacts with them, trying to understand their way of thinking, their way of seeing the world, it's really something. So we've got amnesia, we've got aliens, we've got a sun-eating organism. What else could this book possibly throw at us?
No, you have no idea. We're just getting started.
I can't wait.
Okay, so we left off with Grace meeting the Iridians.
Right, these totally alien aliens.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that Project Hail Mary does so well is it really captures this sense of isolation that Grace feels.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he wakes up millions of miles from Earth alone on this spaceship, no memory of his mission, no memory of his family, can't even remember his own name. It's got to be like the ultimate nightmare.
Absolutely. And I think Weir could have easily just gone like full on bleak with this, just like wallowing in the despair and loneliness of it all. But he doesn't. He finds this balance.
Right, because Grace doesn't just give up, he keeps going.
Exactly. He uses his scientific mind, his sense of humor, to confront all these challenges that he's facing.
And it's not just Grace's isolation either.
Right.
I mean, think about the Iridians. They evolved on a planet that's completely shrouded in darkness. They experience the world through sonar and echolocation.
It's like a completely different way of perceiving reality.
Right. Like we could barely even imagine what that would be like.
And yet Weir makes it feel real, makes it feel believable.
And it's that difference that makes the meeting between Grace and Rocky so powerful.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've got these two beings from completely different worlds, each facing their own, like, existential crisis.
Yeah, and they find this connection, this understanding in each other.
Yeah, it's like their friendship transcends species language, even sensory perception.
Right, it's about this universal desire for connection, this need to understand and be understood.
And it's not just like an emotional connection either. It's their scientific collaboration that really starts to drive the plot.
Right, because they have to figure out how to stop this astrophage, how to save both their species.
Yeah, it becomes this cosmic team-up.
Like a buddy cop movie, except the fate of two planets is at stake.
Exactly. And they each bring these unique perspectives and skills to the table, right?
Like Grace with his human ingenuity and Rocky with his Iridian technology.
It shows you what's possible when you put aside your differences and really work together.
Collaboration is key.
Absolutely. So we've got this isolation, we've got this amazing friendship, but then Weir throws in another curveball.
Oh yeah, the Amoeba.
Right. So it's not just about dealing with this sun-eating astrophage. Now they have to deal with the predator that feeds on astrophage.
Like it's a whole other layer of complexity.
Exactly. And it really highlights this interconnectedness of life, even on a cosmic scale.
Yeah, it's like we often think of ourselves as separate from nature, but Project Hail Mary reminds us that we're all part of this delicate web of relationships.
Right. And you mess with one part of that web, and who knows what the consequences might be.
Unintended consequences galore.
And this really raises the stakes even higher.
Oh, yeah. I mean, now Grace and Rocky aren't just trying to save their own species. They're trying to understand and navigate this whole alien ecosystem.
Right. And the way they have to scramble to contain that amoeba outbreak on the Hail Mary, it's tense, it's exciting, it's edge-of-your-seat stuff.
You're telling me. I was like holding my breath through that whole sequence.
It's also a great example of how Weir uses these like really specific details to create this sense of realism.
Yeah, he doesn't just gloss over the science.
No, he really digs into the nitty-gritty of it.
And that makes it so much more believable, so much more engaging.
Absolutely. And then on top of all the scientific challenges, you have these big ethical dilemmas that come up.
Oh, yeah, like the decision to potentially introduce Amoeba to Earth's atmosphere.
It's a huge decision.
Right. Because on the one hand, it might be the only way to save humanity. But on the other hand, who knows what the long-term consequences could be.
It's like a classic damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that makes Project Hail Mary so thought-provoking. Because Weir doesn't give you easy answers.
No, he forces you to think about these complex issues, to weigh the potential benefits against the risks.
And those are questions that we face in the real world too, right? Like with climate change or genetic engineering. We have these incredibly powerful tools.
But we have to use them responsibly.
And it's not always clear what the right choice is.
Project Hail Mary doesn't tell us what to think. But it does encourage us to think critically about these issues.
Yeah, to be aware of the potential consequences of our actions.
Even when we're trying to do the right thing.
So much to unpack. Okay, so we've talked about isolation, scientific collaboration, even alien predators. But one thing that really strikes me about Project Hail Mary is that even with all that darkness, there's this like undercurrent of hope.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would have been easy for Weir to just write this like really bleak apocalyptic story, humanity's doomed, the end.
Right, just give in to despair.
Exactly. But he doesn't, and I think that's one of the things that makes this book so powerful.
Yeah, like it's almost audacious, the whole premise of the Hail Mary project. Humanity is on the brink of extinction, and we decide to build this massive spaceship powered by an alien organism. Just this crazy, desperate gamble to save ourselves.
It's like a giant middle finger to the universe. We're not giving up without a fight.
Exactly. And it's not just the big picture stuff either. It's the smaller moments too. Like when Grace decides to help the Iridians, even though his main mission is to save humanity.
Yeah, or Rocky choosing to stay behind on Adrian to continue his research.
Or Strat back on Earth having to make these incredibly difficult decisions.
Decisions that will affect the lives of billions of people.
It's those moments of courage and compassion that really make this book resonate. It's not just about survival, it's about how we survive.
And what we're willing to sacrifice.
Exactly. And you know, another thing that I love about Project Hail Mary is how it celebrates the power of science.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just like window dressing or a plot device. Science is like the engine that drives the whole story forward.
Right. It's Grace's scientific knowledge, his ability to think critically and solve problems. That's what allows him to understand astrophage, to communicate with Rocky, to ultimately save the day.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate testament to human ingenuity. This idea that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we can use our brains, our creativity to find a way forward.
And it's not just about memorizing facts and formulas.
No, it's about applying that knowledge in the real world to make a difference.
It's about exploration, it's about discovery, it's about pushing the boundaries of what we know.
Yeah. And Project Hail Mary really captures that spirit of adventure, that sense of wonder that makes science so compelling.
And I think it's refreshing, too, because, you know, a lot of science fiction can be pretty dystopian, pretty pessimistic about the future.
Yeah, like technology is always the enemy.
Exactly. But in Project Hail Mary, science is the solution.
It's the tool that allows us to connect, to understand, to overcome these incredible challenges.
And ultimately to build a better future.
So yeah, Project Hail Mary is a wild ride. It's full of twists and turns, mind-blowing science, and these incredibly relatable characters.
It's a story about hope, about resilience, about the power of human connection.
And about never giving up, even when the odds seem insurmountable.
So if you're looking for a sci-fi book that will make you think, make you feel, and leave you feeling a little bit more optimistic about the future, Project Hail Mary is definitely worth checking out.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep that sense of wonder alive.